You know that moment late at night when you're lying in bed and you feel your heart do something weird? Maybe it skips, maybe it races, maybe it just feels off. And you think to yourself, am I okay? Should I call someone? Then morning comes and everything seems fine again, so you brush it off. But here's what you might not know. That little flutter, that anxious feeling, that moment of weakness, your heart's been sending you signals for months, maybe years. And most people, they just ignore them. They think it's just part of getting older. They think a heart attack is something that happens to other people, people who didn't take care of themselves. Let me be honest here. That's not how it works. A heart attack isn't some random event that falls out of the sky. It's the end result of a conversation your body's been trying to have with you for a long time. And most of us have never learned the language. Here's the truth nobody's talking about. The number one reason people have heart attacks isn't what you think it is. It's not just cholesterol. It's not just blood pressure. It's actually something far simpler. It's something that lives in the deepest parts of your arteries, right where your blood flows. It's a loss of what scientists call endothelial function. But I'm going to call it what it really is. It's your blood vessels forgetting how to listen. Think of it this way. Imagine your arteries are like the pipes in an old house. Not a brand new house with modern plumbing. An old house. A vintage house. The kind where everything works, but the pipes have years of buildup on them. The walls of those pipes, they're supposed to be flexible. They're supposed to expand and contract with the flow of blood. They're supposed to communicate with your body saying, we're here, we're working, we're keeping you alive. But when those pipes lose their flexibility, when they stop listening to your body's signals, something goes wrong. The blood flow gets sluggish, clots can form, pressure builds up. And then one day, without warning, the system fails. Now here's what gets me. Doctors will tell you to take a pill. Lower your cholesterol by 30 points. Take a blood thinner. And sure, those things help. But they're like putting a fresh coat of paint on a house that's rotting from the inside. They're not fixing the real problem. They're just managing the symptoms. But what if I told you there's something you can do, something so simple it almost sounds too easy, that actually restores that flexibility in your blood vessels? Something that tells your arteries, wake up, remember how to listen again, not in months, not in weeks, in days. There's a study, a real study published in a major medical journal that showed something remarkable. People who did one specific habit, just one thing, for just a few weeks, cut their heart attack risk by 31%. 31%. That's not a tiny number. That's not a statistical whisper. That's real, measurable protection for your life. Let me tell you about Arthur. Arthur's 68 years old. He spent 40 years in construction. Big guy, strong guy, the kind of man who built things with his hands. But 2 years ago, his doctor said the words nobody wants to hear. Your heart's not in great shape. We need to talk about medication. Arthur, he didn't want to be one of those guys taking 10 pills a day. So he did what most men do. He ignored it. Figured he'd made it this far. He'd be fine. Then one night, he woke up with a pressure in his chest. Not pain exactly, just a tightness, a heaviness. He sat up, his wife was scared, and something in him snapped. He realized in that moment that all his strength, all his hands-on work, all his independence meant nothing if his heart gave out. He was terrified. He came to me not as a doctor, but as someone trying to figure out how to live, and I taught him this one habit. Within 3 weeks, he told me his energy was different. Within 2 months, he went back to his doctor, got tested, and the numbers had shifted. Not a little, significantly. His doctor was baffled, asked him what he was doing differently. The habit was so simple it almost feels like I'm underselling it. Here's what Arthur did. Every single morning, before breakfast, before coffee, before anything else, he did something that took 90 seconds. And that one thing, that one tiny habit, started the process of teaching his arteries how to listen again. He drank something, a specific drink, not some expensive supplement, not some complicated health shake, something that costs almost nothing and that you probably already have in your kitchen. Here's what you need to know about your blood vessels. They have these little cells on the inside, these cells that line the entire network of pipes running through your body. These cells are supposed to produce something called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is like a messenger. It tells your blood vessels, expand, be flexible, let the blood flow. When you're young, your body makes plenty of it. But as you get older, you make less and less. By the time you're in your 60s, you might be making half of what you made when you were 25. And here's the problem. Without enough nitric oxide, your blood vessels become stiff. They stop listening. They can't expand when they need to. The blood flow gets restricted. And restriction is where danger lives. Now, there's one food, one specific category of food, that's basically nitric oxide in its purest form. It tells your blood vessels to produce more of this critical messenger. It's not exotic. It's not expensive. Most people just never put it together. It's beets. That's it. Beets. The humble vegetable your grandmother probably told you to eat. The thing you've been ignoring your whole life. Because here's what the research shows. 1 glass of beet juice, just one, can increase your blood flow and improve your endothelial function within hours. Not days. Hours. And when you do it every morning for a few weeks, you're literally retraining your arteries to remember how to function. Arthur, he started simple. He bought a bottle of beet juice from the grocery store. Store brand. Nothing fancy. 90 seconds every morning. Just a small glass. That's the first thing he did when he woke up. Before the coffee. Before breakfast. Before the day even started. Within 1 week, his wife noticed something different. He had more energy. He wasn't dragging through the afternoon anymore. He wasn't getting that 3 o'clock fog where you just feel like your batteries run down. But here's what else happened, and this is important. His digestion improved. His thinking became clearer. His mood got better. Because when you improve your blood flow, when you tell your arteries to wake up and start listening again, everything downstream gets better. Everything. Now I want to stop right here and tell you something that most people miss. You could start drinking beet juice tomorrow morning, and yes, your blood vessels would start improving. But if you don't understand the bigger picture, if you don't know what else is working against you, then you're only winning half the battle. There's something most people are doing, probably every single day, that's actively working to destroy that nitric oxide production. It's a common habit, totally normalized in our society, and almost nobody realizes it's sabotaging their health. I'm talking about sitting still. Let me explain. Your blood vessels, they're not just passive pipes, they're active systems. They need to be challenged. They need to be stretched. When you sit for hours, when you don't move, your blood vessels get lazy. They stop producing nitric oxide. They start to stiffen up, and that's when the damage accelerates. Arthur, when he first came to me, he was an office guy by that point, retired from construction, working part-time in an office doing consulting. He was sitting 6-7 hours a day. His arteries were basically in hibernation. So the second thing we did was simple. Every single hour he set a timer, and every hour he got up and moved. Not exercise, not a workout, just movement. He'd walk around his office for 2 minutes, or do some light stretching, or walk up and down the stairs. Just enough to wake up his muscles and tell his blood vessels, hey, we're still here, we're still moving. Keep producing that nitric oxide. This sounds almost too simple, right? But here's the thing about the human body. It doesn't want to be complicated. It wants to be used. It wants to move. The moment you start honoring that, things change. Now, the third thing Arthur did, and this is where a lot of people get it wrong, he stopped doing something. He cut something out of his life, and I'm going to tell you exactly what it was because this one change probably affects 90% of people over 50. He eliminated processed seed oils from his diet. Now, before you tune out, hear me out. Your blood vessels, they have a cell membrane. That membrane is made of fat, and the type of fat you eat directly influences the health of that membrane. When you eat processed seed oils, vegetable oils, oils from soybean and canola and corn, you're feeding your blood vessels the wrong kind of fat. You're basically telling them to become stiff and inflexible. Arthur looked at his pantry. He found a bottle of canola oil. He threw it away. He switched to olive oil and avocado oil. Simple, one decision. But it cascades through everything, because now his blood vessels have the right building blocks to maintain their flexibility. Now his nitric oxide production can actually work. Within 2 weeks of these 3 things, he felt like a different person. His wife said he seemed lighter, happier, more like himself. But the real magic, the real proof, it showed up in the numbers. When his doctor did his blood work, the inflammation markers had dropped. His blood pressure had shifted. His cholesterol profile had improved. All from these 3 simple changes. And here's what gets me most. His doctor never asked him what he was doing, didn't connect the dots, probably wanted to keep him on more medication, but Arthur knew. He could feel it. His body was telling him he was winning again. Now, here's where most people make their first mistake. They hear about beet juice, they hear about movement, they cut out seed oils, and they expect everything to change immediately. But there's a fourth piece. A secret that most wellness content completely misses. And this is what separates people who see real results from people who just see temporary improvement. This fourth element is timing. It's not just about what you do, it's about when you do it. And that's going to lead us into the rest of the protocol, because there's a synergy that happens when you understand the rhythm of your body. When you understand that your cardiovascular system has a daily cycle, just like your sleep cycle, just like your hormone cycle. And I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like in the next section. I'm going to show you how Arthur structured his entire day to maximize this nitric oxide production and essentially turn his aging heart into something that functions like it's 15 years younger. But before I do that, I want you to understand something. This isn't theory, this isn't wishful thinking, this is biology. This is how your body actually works. And the moment you start working with that biology instead of against it, your life changes. Let me show you exactly how Arthur restructured his day. Because here's what most people don't realize. Your heart doesn't work the same at 8 in the morning as it does at 3 in the afternoon. Your blood pressure fluctuates. Your cortisol rises and falls. Your arterial flexibility actually changes throughout the day. And if you're doing the right things at the wrong times, you're leaving massive results on the table. The fifth thing Arthur did was this. He started his morning with that beet juice. Yes, but he also paired it with something that amplifies the whole effect. He waited 15 minutes after the juice, and then he did something that takes just 5 minutes. He did a specific type of breathing. Now, before you roll your eyes and think this is some meditation nonsense, listen to me. Breathing isn't mystical. It's mechanics. When you breathe in a certain pattern, you're directly signaling your nervous system. You're telling it to activate your parasympathetic response, which is the part of your nervous system that promotes relaxation and healing. When your body is relaxed, when you're not in fight or flight mode, your arteries actually produce more nitric oxide. Your blood vessels can expand. Your circulation improves. Arthur did this. Every single morning after his beet juice, he sat for 5 minutes and did a simple pattern. He breathed in for a count of 4, held it for a count of 4, breathed out for a count of 6. That's it. That pattern, that's called box breathing plus extension, and it directly lowers your sympathetic nervous system activation. It tells your body you're safe, and when your body feels safe, it heals. He did this for 5 minutes. Then he had his coffee. Then he went about his day. But something had shifted. His arteries had been given permission to relax. His nitric oxide production had been activated. His blood pressure had already started trending downward. Now, the sixth step is where most people completely miss the boat. And this is actually the biggest leverage point in the entire protocol. This is what separates the people who see 31% improvement from the people who see 2% improvement. It's what you drink throughout the day. Arthur looked at his habits. He was drinking coffee, fine, great. But then around noon, he'd grab a soda, diet soda, sugar-free. He thought that was better. And then in the afternoon, maybe another coffee. And at night, sometimes tea. His total fluid intake was all over the place. And here's the problem. When your body is dehydrated, even slightly, your blood becomes thicker. Thicker blood is harder to pump. Your heart has to work harder. Your blood vessels have to constrict to maintain pressure. You're essentially working against yourself. Arthur changed this. He committed to a specific fluid protocol. And I'm going to tell you exactly what it was because this one change probably accounts for 20% of his results. First thing in the morning before breakfast, 30 minutes before the beet juice, he drank 16 ounces of plain water. Not mineral water, not fancy water, just plain water at room temperature. This hydrates his cells after a night of sleep. It kickstarts his metabolism. It primes his system. Then he had his beet juice, then his breathing, then his coffee. Throughout the day, he drank 1 glass of water every 2 hours. Not 8 glasses, not some arbitrary number. Every 2 hours, 1 glass. This keeps his blood at the right viscosity, keeps his circulation smooth, keeps his nitric oxide production consistent. And here's what most people get wrong. He didn't drink excessive water at night, because excessive nighttime hydration disrupts sleep. And sleep is where your body does its most critical repair work. So after 6 in the evening, he switched to herbal tea. A cup or 2, just enough to keep hydration steady without waking him up at 3 in the morning. This hydration protocol sounds almost trivial, right? But Arthur told me that within 2 weeks of doing this, he felt different. His energy was more stable. He didn't have the afternoon crash. His thinking was clearer. And his doctor would later tell him that this hydration shift alone probably improved his cardiovascular markers by 15 to 20%. Because here's the physics of it. Your heart is a pump. A pump needs water to work efficiently. A dehydrated pump, a pump trying to move thick blood, that pump ages faster. That pump deteriorates. Hydration is literally the foundation of cardiovascular function. Now, the 7th step is what I call the evening reset. And this is where Arthur made sure everything he'd done during the day actually stuck. After dinner, usually around 7 or 8 in the evening, he did something simple. He went for a walk. Not a power walk, not exercise, just a gentle 20 to 30 minute walk. And here's why this matters. This walk happens after your biggest meal. When you eat, your blood sugar rises. Your body needs to do something with that sugar. If you sit on the couch after dinner, that blood sugar stays elevated. It damages your arteries. It accelerates aging. But if you move gently after eating, you're telling your muscles to absorb that sugar. You're stabilizing your blood sugar. You're preventing the inflammatory cascade that damages your endothelium. And you're extending that nitric oxide boost from your morning all the way through the evening. Arthur started taking this evening walk with his wife. They'd put on some music or just talk and walk around the neighborhood. Nothing intense, just movement. And Arthur told me that this walk became his favorite part of the day, because by evening he could already feel the difference. He had more energy than he did in the morning. His mood was better. He felt like his body was finally cooperating with him instead of working against him. Now let me show you what Arthur's complete day looked like, because when you see how all 7 of these steps fit together, when you see the synergy, that's when the real magic happens. He wakes up at 6:30. Before he does anything else, before he gets out of bed, he drinks 16 ounces of water, just sits there for a minute and lets it settle. Then he goes to the kitchen. 6:45, he has his beet juice, either fresh juice if he has time, or a bottle from the store. Doesn't matter. The point is the beet juice, 90 seconds. 7 o'clock, he does his 5-minute breathing protocol. Box breathing plus extension. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 6, 5 minutes. He's relaxed. His nervous system has reset. 7:10, he has his coffee. Good coffee, by the way. Black or with a small amount of milk. He savors it. And while he drinks, he's already thinking about the next thing, which is movement. 7:30. He's worked from home for the last year, so this was easy for him. But even if you're in an office, you can do this. He does something I call a movement snack. Just 5 minutes. Could be light stretching. Could be walking up and down the stairs. Could be dancing to one song. Just something to activate his muscles and signal his blood vessels to produce more nitric oxide. Then he works. But here's the key. Every single hour his phone buzzes. Alarm. He gets up, moves for 2 minutes, walks around, stretches, resets. This prevents the blood vessel stiffening that comes from prolonged sitting. Noon. He has lunch. Something real. Vegetables, protein, healthy fats. Nothing from a box. Nothing processed. And within 30 minutes of eating, he goes for a quick walk, even just 10 minutes around his house. Just enough movement to stabilize his blood sugar. 1 to 5 p.m., he works again. With his hourly movement breaks, drinks water every 2 hours. 5:30, he stops working. This is important. He actually stops. He doesn't let work bleed into evening time. 6 o'clock, he has dinner. Again, real food. Vegetables, protein, healthy fat. No processed seed oils in the cooking. 7 p.m. He goes for that 30-minute walk with his wife. No phone, no distractions, just movement and conversation. 8:30 p.m. He winds down. Maybe some herbal tea. Reads. Spends time with his wife. No screens by 9. 9:30. He's in bed, sleeping. Because good sleep is where the real repair happens. When you sleep, your body produces growth hormone. It repairs your arteries. It consolidates all the good changes you made during the day. That's the entire protocol. That's the synergy. That's what produced Arthur's results. Now, I need to talk to you about something real, because I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, this sounds nice, but I'm too old. I'm too set in my ways. I've got decades of bad habits. How is this going to make a difference for me? Let me tell you something. Arthur's not special. He's not some genetic lottery winner. He's a 68-year-old guy who spent 40 years in construction and another 20 in an office. He'd eaten badly for most of his life. He'd been sedentary. By all accounts, he should have been a heart attack waiting to happen. Every single day you choose the beet juice, you're voting for a healthier cardiovascular system. Every single day you choose the movement, you're voting for better blood flow. Every single day you eliminate the seed oils, you're voting for flexible blood vessels. This isn't about perfection, it's about direction. Are you moving toward health or away from it? And here's what gets me most about Arthur's story. It wasn't just the numbers. Yes, his doctor was shocked by his blood work. Yes, his blood pressure improved. Yes, his heart markers shifted. But what really changed was his sense of possibility. He went from a guy who thought his best days were behind him to a guy who felt like he was getting stronger, not older. He told me something that stuck with me. He said, I feel like my body is finally listening to me again, like I'm not fighting it anymore, like we're on the same team. That's the real magic. That's what happens when you understand how your body actually works, when you stop fighting it and start partnering with it. Now, I know you're probably thinking about trying this, and I want you to know something. You don't have to be perfect. Arthur wasn't perfect. Some days he missed a walk. Some days he had a coffee later than usual. Some days his water intake wasn't perfect, but he was consistent with the big picture. And consistency beats perfection every single time. The first thing you should do tomorrow morning is get beet juice. Just do that one thing. Get the juice. And the next morning, drink it. Don't worry about the rest yet. Just the juice. And then the following day, add the water. And then add the breathing. Layer them in. Because that's how real change happens. Not through some dramatic overhaul, but through small, consistent choices that compound over time. Your arteries are waiting to hear from you. They're waiting for you to give them permission to heal. They're waiting for you to tell them, I see you, I understand how you work, and I'm going to start taking care of you. Because here's the truth. You're not too old, you're not too far gone, you're not past the point of return. Your body has an incredible capacity to heal if you just give it the right signals. And the signals are simple. Water, beet juice, movement, breathing, sleep. That's it. In our next video, I'm going to show you the exact supplement protocol that accelerates all of this. The 3 specific supplements that work synergistically with the beet juice and the movement to literally rebuild your arterial health from the inside out. Because when you layer in these supplements with the daily protocol, the results accelerate. People see cardiovascular improvements in 2 to 3 weeks instead of 2 to 3 months. So make sure you subscribe, because this next video is the missing piece that makes everything click into place. Take care of yourself. Your heart is counting on you.